I'd like to welcome Brad Ewart, the living legend of BC Golf, to Steve Tees Off, the inaugural episode of Steve Tees Off, and where we're going to talk about BC golf. We're going to talk about junior golf. We're going to talk about golf as maybe a metaphor for life. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I like to think it is. But Brad, I would like to welcome you and thank you so much for coming out to the studio here for the inaugural one. And there's a number of things that I wanted to, but let's start off with what was top of mind here. You were looking at your phone. I might as well address the elephant in the room here. You used to be known, you said when you walked in here and we initially were talking, that used to be known as Brad Ewart. Now you're just AJ's dad.
Yeah, I used to be the golfer in the family, and now the golfer in the family is AJ, my son AJ Ewart, and he's playing well. He's on the PGA Tour America. He just finished the final round in Edmonton. He shot 70, so he's finishes 10 under par. Right now he's tied for 26th. He'll be in town next week. He plays in Victoria for the Victoria Open at Uplands, and the following week the final of the Fortinet Cup at Morgan Creek. And AJ, they had the first part of the tour was in South America. After 6 tournaments, he was in 13th place, but came back to Canada and he had a couple of top 10s, but not enough. And he needs to either win or have a couple of really good finishes the next 2 weeks to get his Corn Ferry card.
Okay, well, listen, I can see the excitement and to maybe to make for people to understand, like it's really hard to understand the true meritocracy as to how it works, how the golf tour, the tournaments work. And we start at the highest level, which is the PGA, right? You got professional, the guys that we see on TV and the gals that we see on TV playing the LPGA and the PGA. And there's a feeder routes to that. Okay. Let's start there with where your son's at and how the road that your son took to get to where he is at.
Well, Steve, many parents would love to have their kids play on the PGA Tour or play on the LPGA Tour. I'm sure some kids, when they're still in the womb, their dad's whispering through their mom's belly, when you're ready, you're going to be on tour. And so my son, when he was born, I didn't want to push things. I'm a professional golfer. Golf's my life. So I waited. He started walking at 12 months. I gave him a month to get his balance, and he started golfing at 13 months, and he's been playing ever since. He's 26 now. Now, I joke about that, but in those early years when he was 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, that's when I had to try and get the passion in golf. He also played soccer. He also played basketball. He also had rollerblades. He did other things than just golf. In today's world, to be a good golfer, you need to be an athlete on the men's and the women's tour. So as my son was growing up, he started playing in the Vancouver area. It was called Junior Leinster Golf. It was run by a man named Harry White. Harry White was a legend in golf. Harry White was an icon in junior golf because what he did for many years was run tournaments at all the par 3 courses. Every Saturday morning, I could get up early with my son every Saturday morning and take him to Central Park, Kensington Park, Queen Elizabeth Park, Ambleside Park, all over the Lower Mainland. We got to know all the par 3 courses. And it was a great circuit. And these kids, they learned how to, that was organized golf. That was beginning one. They learned how to have fun. They learned how to play a game by the rules. And they met other kids. And they were able to flourish. And that's where they got their passion. And many of the kids that my son grew up with, many of them went on to play college golf and are still playing golf because what Harry did was run a tour that really instilled the passion in these kids. It was at the par 3 courses. Where else can you be if you're a kid on a Saturday morning to play golf? Not a private course.
No, not a chance.
It's all members. Not a public course. The green fee is too high. So that was where my son played. And when he got to be 12 years old, he started playing Canadian junior golf. And he also started playing BC Golf Association. So in the world of golf here in Canada, we're very fortunate. It starts with Golf Canada. If you think of that as the umbrella and everything underneath it is golf, starts with Golf Canada. They've done a tremendous job in all of their programs. Then every province, whether it's BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, everyone has their own programs. And in BC, the programs are tremendous. They start with the Bantams, the BC Bantams, or kids 14 and under. Then they've got the Juvenile for 16 and under. Then they've got the BC Junior for 18 and under. And if they're eager and passionate enough, they'll probably qualify for the BC Amateur. And that's for all the top amateurs. So that experience, playing those tournaments, enables those kids to learn how to play the game by the rules. They're well-run tournaments. And so there are spin-offs from what BC Golf has done and what Golf Canada has done. And really in Canada, the Maple Leaf Junior Tour has really put their foot out there. And they're like the PGA Tour of junior golf. They've done a really good job, run by a man named Murray Poggi and his wife. They're right across the country. And then there's Canadian Junior Golf. That's based out of Toronto. And that's a national organization, and that's a good organization as well. They've got tournaments in every province. A number of years ago, I ran CJGA, Canadian Junior Golf. I did it for 8 years. It's a Toronto-based organization, and they made me angry. And I said, "You guys aren't doing this right. I'm going to quit." And finally, I quit, and I started my own junior golf tour called the Grizzly Golf Tour.
Talk about that.
And yeah, well, the Grizzly Golf Tour, we run tournaments every Saturday morning. We're just like Harry White did. We've taken it up a few notches from where Harry did. We have Harry had medals for the kids. We have medals for first and second place. We have age divisions for 6 and under, or 8 and under. If there's a kid that's 6 years old, and sometimes there are, then I make a new division that day for 6 and under. And if they're the only kid in your age division, you win first place. But we do first and second medals. We usually have between 18 and 30 kids every tournament. And sometimes we'll do more. We'll get upwards of 40 kids, but most of the time we're somewhere around the 30 number. There are so many options for these kids, tournaments for them to play in, that every Saturday there's a tournament somewhere. And Grizzly is what we do. Mm-hmm. Yesterday we were at Tawasin Springs. And next weekend we're at Country Meadows. And the weekend after that at Tawasin Springs again. But they also play, Grizzly Tour also goes to Golden Eagle out in Pitt Meadows, and we go to Kensington and Central Park pitch and putt. And for so many of the kids, those courses, the pitch and putts, are exactly where they need to be.
Yeah.
And they've got to learn how to make pars, birdies, and bogeys, not 8s, 9s, and 10s. Mm-hmm. And many parents think that, you put a set of stiff shafts in your kid's hands and you put them on the blue tees and you're going to make them a good player. No, you're going to make them quit. Mm-hmm. Golf's not easy. So why make it hard? So with Grizzly Tour, I have tees. If these kids, if they're passionate enough and eager enough, they'll go to San Diego in July. It's the World Junior, or they'll go to Pinehurst to the U.S. Kids, and that's a great experience because you go down there and you play amongst the best kids in the world who are playing golf. And if you go to those places, you see what the other kids can do, and you come back home and you're more passionate to play. But that's what it is. It's to get these kids learning how to make pars, birdies, and bogeys, not 8s, 9s, and 10s. So we for Grizzly, yesterday at Tawasin Springs, I had tees in the fairway for the kids at 8 and under. They're basically playing a par 5 is 200 yards.
Yeah. A
par 4 is under 150 yards, and a par 3, I put the tee real close so they can get it on the green. They want to hit decent shots, and with Grizzly Golf, parents are allowed or coaches are allowed to be on the bag. You can't just send a kid out there brand new and say, "Okay, you're on your own. Good luck."
Yeah.
So the parents, they caddy for them. But the parents realize the sooner you can get off the bag, the better it is for your golfer. Yeah. I was off my son's bag by the time he was 9. By the time he was 9, he was on his own, and that's what you really want to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, like I was just before we started taping here, I was talking about the way I was thinking about when I started golfing. I think I was 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. And it was at John Bloomberg Golf Course just outside of Winnipeg. And the club pro was Harry Brochie. I remember him. I remember his name. And the reason I went to all 10 sessions was my father got $150 credit at the pro shop. And that's where I was getting my first set of clubs. I was using his. I was the only kid that went 10 out of 10 times. There were sessions there, it was just me and Harry. And that's when Harry, like I have a shitty 10-finger grip. But Harry I remember that because I having this discussion with my dad standing there. I was 9, 10 years old going, Harry would say, "Go with what brought you. If that feels good, kid, just swing it. Swing it like that. I'm not going to mess you up with this. And I wish he would have, but I have small hands, and it worked. And I could always pound the ball, like I could hit the ball. And I don't want to discourage you. And I'm the only kid. So that story was the tenacity of my old man who he wanted the credit. I know that. But I also, by showing up I think it was every Saturday morning at John Bloomberg, you're doing that all through the summer, but your dad's making the effort to drive out here. Okay, I'll spend a little time.
And something you did with your dad, which
That's right.
that you never forget.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
but in those days also our golf equipment, it was our dad's clubs. They either cut down or you just choked down.
Yeah.
And I remember my first set of clubs were my dad's Wilson staffs that he couldn't hit. They were no good, so I got them. And until I got myself a set of my own clubs. But in today's golf world, for kids, there's only one golf club. It's called U.S. Kids.
Yeah.
So U.S. Kids, they make the club is the right weight. The grip is the right diameter. Everything about it, the shaft flex is proper. Every other club manufacturer tries their best, but only U.S. Kids are good. So if parents want to get their kids into golf, make sure you get them into U.S. Kids clubs.
We'll be hitting U.S. Kids clubs up because we're going to have so many people watching this podcast now, Brad.
I'm sure.
But at the same time, I have to say that it's Steve T's off is brought to you by riversidegolf.ca. Couldn't have this without Ken Poirier's support. But so keep on. We were talking about AJ's career, and he started you give him an extra month till he's 13 months old, and put a golf club in his hands, and say, now you can walk, you can go play.
The advantage that he had, obviously, was his dad's a pro, and I knew the path, and I always knew from a very young age if I could keep him on that path, that perhaps one day he would make it to the PGA Tour, perhaps one day. And so when he was young, he learned how to win. He learned how to play golf. He learned how to play under par. And people say, well, how can you, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, I would have him playing a shorter course. So he'd be putting for eagle when he was 9 years old on a par 5, because I had him teeing off in the middle of the fairway so that he was getting on with his second shot. And he could feel the pressure of putting for an eagle. Well, he went on in college golf to win 14 times, and many times in competition. He shot 63s and 62s, and he shot 59 in a qualifier one day for the school team. So he knows how to shoot under par. And so with AJ playing junior Linkster golf, he's got tons of medals and tons of experience and playoffs. And they're 9, 10, 12 years old. And then when he played CJGA, Canadian Junior Golf, then you don't win all the time. You play in a lot of tournaments to win a few times. So watch the PGA Tour. Nobody wins other than Scheffler and Tiger. Nobody else wins all the time. And so he learned how to win. And then by the time he was 16, he'd won an AJGA, American Junior Golf Association. That's the PGA Tour of golf in the United States. He won a tournament down in Sun River, Oregon. All the coaches were there from all the western half of North America. He was inundated with scholarship offers, more than 20. And he decided he wanted to go to ASU. And we went down and he did the walk around with Tim Mickelson and the Masters Week. Tim and I discussed what the scholarship was going to be. John Rahm was just about to leave. And we agreed on the scholarship. 3 months later, I was watching the British Open on television, and the announcer said that Tim Mickelson has just resigned as head coach at Arizona State University. And I got a phone call from one of the Team Canada coaches, and said, he told me who was rumored to become the new coach at ASU, who really didn't like kids on Team Canada, because that means they had to give them the release sometimes to go play somewhere. And so he said, you better think about. And so when the coach phoned my son one day, and he'll probably regret it, Matt Thurman phones AJ and says, AJ, he said, I know I'm the new coach at ASU. I know that you've talked with Tim Mickelson about a scholarship. He says, I'm the new coach. Everything starts new. He says, whatever you guys had agreed upon, we have to start again. You're a good player. You're not that good. He said, I'm thinking you're probably somewhere around 40%. AJ had we'd agreed at 80% of a scholarship. And he said, so if you want to come down here, you give us your dad can give us a call. AJ phoned me and told me that. I phoned Matt back and I asked him, and he told me the same thing. I guess, okay, well, hey, Matt, I'll get back to you. not a chance. Goodbye. And then my son said, to hell with that. I'm not going to play college golf. And he was in grade 12. He was planning on going to ASU. And now he said, take me out of all the academic courses. I'm just going to turn pro when I finish school. Well, he changed his mind after 1 year out of school. He decided he wanted to go back to school. So he went to Barrie, which was a wonderful thing, because but by then he'd already made a name for himself. And so to get the scholarship at Barrie was, the first year was 90%. So many of the parents and many of the kids will say, oh, I got a scholarship to go somewhere. Well, that might only be a 60 or 70% scholarship, or 40%. It's of a 60 to a 70,000 US scholarship per year. That's a lot of money.
It's a ton of money.
So you better be getting a full ride. And if you're not getting that, I highly recommend. But AJ took advantage of that program and was part of Team Canada, part of the national team. And so he's been able to learn to win and flourish, and this game has developed. All of his experience is in his heart. And the same thing applies to many young girls now in this Vancouver market. Girls that have been growing up playing BC Golf and playing Golf Canada and part of Team Canada. Leah Johns, she's one of them. There's another girl, Victoria Liu. She'll be out on tour soon. That could go on and on. There's a whole bunch of girls that you're going to see in the next little while, as well as boys, men on the PGA Tour. Because many years ago, Team Canada started what was called a junior development program. So all of the people in Canada who put their money as part of Golf Canada, they put that money, it goes into their national development program. And the junior development program. So Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Hadwin, Nick Taylor, Adam Svensson, every one of those young guys is all part of the junior development program. That's where my son is right now. That's where some other good top young players, Johnny Travailler and Joey Savoie and others, they're part of the new breed of young Canadian golfers. So
explain, Brad, why when we're talking about Canadian, but we're talking, let's narrow it down to the Lower Mainland of British Columbia here. Why this has become such a hotbed here for junior golfers. Am I making that up, or is that, I
think it's because of we've got a longer golf season than anywhere else in Canada. Mm-hmm. It's even longer in Victoria. So we've got a longer season. Sometimes we can play 12 months of the year. I've been playing golf all my life. There are some winters it doesn't snow. Mm-hmm. There's some winters when we're playing golf in January, we've got a golf shirt on. Yeah. That does happen. But usually we get about 3 weeks, maybe sometimes a month of course being closed and not able to play. But we have so many good facilities around, so many indoor facilities, so many driving ranges. We've got a lot of really good instructors, a lot of people, a lot of guys that were good players, but just not quite good enough. Mm-hmm. So they're local teaching pros, they're local club pros, they're local golfers who are teaching and sharing their knowledge and their experience. I'm a member of the PGA of Canada, and many of the teaching pros who I work at Burnaby Mountain with, or pros who come out to Grizzly Golf Tour with their students, these are coaches who are training the new young golfers. I think our PGA program in Canada is outstanding. I think our junior development program in Canada is outstanding. Because our weather is better, we have kids from Ontario moving out here. And it's just a better playing season. Mm-hmm. That's probably why.
So if you were to, like, I'd say you've been around for, I'm not going to date you. I could say the same thing about myself. I've been, since Jesus was a baby, I've been around. But what's the fundamental difference that you've seen in the game and in the game of golf over the last, I'm going to say 20 years, 15, 20 years, because I want to give it a wide berth, but we could narrow it down to the last 10 years. But I'm going to sort of segue into this, that I used to think that golf was the last form of, I want to choose my words here wisely, but it was dignified competition. It was, there were rules, and there was a game where if you called yourself on the rules, you did. You certainly, you might have a couple of pops out in the golf course, but you certainly weren't getting punch drunk. And I literally mean that now. And I don't know if it's because I don't, if that was happening posts that we've seen recently, and I'm going to say in the last year, 2 years, where fights break out in the golf course. If that was happening when I was young, I never heard about it. It was never reported on, but I don't ever remember that being an issue.
Well, when I learned the game of golf, I learned that golf teaches us honesty, integrity, and sportsmanship. When I'm talking to kids on the first tee, I said that to them yesterday. I said, repeat after me: honesty, integrity, and sportsmanship. We all have to learn how to keep score correctly. We all have to learn how to play the game. There's etiquette. There's manners in the game. So, Steve, when you and I learned the game, we respected those time-honored traditions of golf, of etiquette, of respect. And yet, in today's world, many new golfers, they came in since COVID, they bypassed all of those things. They know nothing about etiquette. They don't know how to fix a ball mark. They do know how to yell four, because they know what that means. Many of the new golfers during COVID, if you ask them how to spell golf, they would spell it B-E-E-R. Yeah, beer. And so every golf, it was ridiculous. I would be playing behind guys on the golf course who would be staggering drunk, pushing their cart. They wouldn't play the last 2 holes. They were so drunk, and it was pathetic. And the garbage cans on every golf course were full of beer cans. And so all of those golfers are now playing golf, because they were the ones who used to say, oh, golf is for old fat guys. It's for old men in plaid pants. Now they're old fat guys, and they like the game. They don't have plaid pants on. They have short pants on, and they're out there playing golf with the music on their carts.
That's the other, and I've got to be, I don't want to be calling myself out here, but when and if my son's watching this, he'll probably, I don't need to listen to music when I'm playing golf. Okay. Yeah. I don't, I'm sorry. I don't, but I'm not, I'll tolerate it because I want to be with you, son. Okay. And we're playing here, but turn the goddamn music down. I certainly don't want to hear what the other person's playing either. But the guy who invented these little boom boxes that you can put on the golf, I'd like to shoot him. I really would, but I don't want to be, I don't know what the term, like an old fogey here and saying, listen, I get it, but I don't, like, the reason I'm out in the golf course is because I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, I have played golf with people who I have asked them, because it's some rap, and I'm trying to hit some rhythm. Can you give me a bit of some Neil Young, some
just to calm the nerves here.
I just want to be able to swing here. But I don't mind if the music is playing. It's for your own little area where you are on the course. You don't need to broadcast it to the whole golf course. It's okay if they have it on their cart or on their hole, but you can turn the volume down, and it can be restricted to that area, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, the game of golf, there were some crazy incidences with fighting on the golf course. And that was alcohol induced, steroid induced, that was rage induced, that was many things wrong.
The thing is that I look at it and I go, like, where did you, and the thing is, everybody's got their phone now and you can take video of idiocracy. But the one, the sheer magnitude of somebody sitting there watching somebody beat the shit out of someone else and not do anything about it. Like, you just sit there and with your phone, and there's like 8 other guys standing around watching this shit. And
well, the 2 incidences last summer, both of them were at Burnaby golf courses. One was at Riverway, and the other one was at Burnaby Mountain. And the one at Burnaby Mountain, my friend, it was his son that got hit over the head, and that went viral. More than 10 million viewers watched his son get hit over the head. The man who hit him over the head, he went to court, and he got charged with assault with a deadly weapon. And he's been charged. And you don't do that.
Yeah.
But the guy was drunk. He was impaired. And it was ridiculous. And so it happened in the Okanagan just a few months ago. Same thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol induced. They get in a rage. I've seen it more than once where people get out of hand on the golf course, but it's uncalled for. We're up there, as you said, you're out there to have fun.
Yeah. And like, I actually, I told you my son's he played junior hockey. One of the guys he played junior hockey with, I think it was his brother. He was the guy. He punched the guy out and threw him back into the water and said that was Neil. Hey, he's Neil Tarnansky. But the RCMP viewed the video and they didn't charge him because the guy was hammered and he picked the wrong guy. And the guy's telling him, he's stay down. Like, just, what are you doing? And I said to my son jokingly when we had lunch, after I'd seen that, I said, "Will you show me in the rules where it says you're not allowed to fight in the golf course?" He looks at me. I said, "That was a joke." That was a joke.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
But that's, unfortunately, to today's new golfers, some of them, that's not a joke.
That's not a joke.
No. And you hit into them and they're yelling back at you, and yeah.
Well,
but I think, fortunately, in junior golf, that we don't allow those things to happen. If kids are losing their temper and they're saying stupid things, I'll take them aside and I'll tell them that's not part of golf, and you shouldn't be doing that. And if they get to a higher level in competitive golf, they'll be penalized for it, or they'll be disqualified for it. So, yeah.
So I'll ask you this, and we'll attempt to wrap things up here. But what interests me was Ken telling me about the Grizzly tour that you have for the little kids. I love that stuff because I think about how I would introduce. Like, I was fortunate that my son, I introduced him to golf when he was little, but it wasn't hockey was the thing, but he's really now, he's glad that he did that. He had that basic thing. And now, I've got a daughter that's playing golf, and it's her and her boyfriend, he's a professional lacrosse player, actually, from New Westminster. So, and there was a big fight in the stands the other day. I don't know if you saw that beauty from, that was old school, Six Nations playing the Salmon Valleys or whoever the hell was there. And my daughter sent me and my introduction to lacrosse was in 1994. The Salmon Valleys were playing Six Nations. I'd never seen a lacrosse game in my life. And a fight like that breaks out. And the guy I was with, Steve Bodner, I said, "Bodner, what do they do?" He goes, "You just flash the lights a couple of times. The police will be here soon. Just stay out of the." And I was like, I love this game. Like, this lacrosse. I'd never seen a lacrosse game in my life. But I digress here. So what I do is, living out here, I choose, I go the old prairie route. And my son, I put him into hockey because you got, you got
all Canadian kids.
Yeah. But the one thing that you forget when you're an adult, or when you're with your children too, is one thing you can't teach is size. Okay. Yeah. You can't teach size. Right. So, if you're not, and I'll say this, if you're not like at least 6 feet tall, 6'1", and I'm not saying that there are the exceptions, there always are, but size is, and if you look at any athlete, you don't realize how big a Major League Baseball player is until you go to a live Major League Baseball game and see how big these guys are. They're monsters. And I would imagine it's the same thing. I know it's the same thing with golf.
Well, it is with golf, and because many of the parents in America and the United States, they didn't want to put their kids into sports where they could get injured. You can get hurt in football. You can get hurt in many sports. So you see players like Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and all of these guys. They're big boys. Corey Connors. These are big men, and so the big men have a big swing arc, and they can hit it a long way. And in today's game, with the equipment that allows you to hit it further, the ball goes further than ever. I don't think they should rope it in either. Just let it go. Let's see these guys play golf, and the equipment has made the game better, but all these big players, they can hit it so far. If you're not big in golf, you better be a good putter.
No, it's true. Yeah. It's true, because and the thing is that, like, I there's an old Wilson bag there, and I had an old set of Wilson K28s. Okay, and
now you're dating yourself.
I am dating myself, and I walked into the pro shop, or to Riverside Golf I'll say riversidegolf.ca. But I walked in and Dustin was there, and I pulled the 2-iron out,
Oh yeah.
and I handed it to him. I said, "Okay, big boy, let's see you hit this." If I would have had the 1-iron, I would have given you the 1-iron because that's the club God couldn't hit.
Exactly.
Okay, so I hand him this 2-iron. He's like, "Whoa," and it's still got the old tour wrap on it too. And let's give her a whirl. It took him about 6 plugs at it to get the rhythm down just where he had to hit it. But he was hitting stingers and going, "Oh, jeez."
Well, you see, that's where technology developed the hybrid. So golfers are able to take the 2-iron and the 3-iron out of their bag and replace it with a 2 hybrid and 3 hybrid.
Yeah.
And how many golfers would walk down to the driving range and warm up with a 2-iron? Nobody.
Not, you know,
But you can go warm up with your 2 hybrid.
Yeah.
It's easy to hit.
oh yeah,
And yeah, that's what the game has done. It's made it
it's
easier.
way easier. Like
Yeah.
you're talking to. I'm carrying a 7 and a 9 wood now.
Well, some days the cup is bigger, right? It's
Yeah.
like the size of a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket.
Yeah.
Those are the days that the putts are dropping.
Yeah.
Those are the days that you're thinking properly. Those are the days that your internal aiming device is turned on. You're hitting the ball down the fairway and on the green, and everything's working. How do you get to that point? You got to put the time in.
Yeah.
You know, the more time you put in, the better you get. And you've got to get, so many of these people new to the game, they've got to get some lessons, and not lessons from the guy at the driving range that says, "Here, let me help you out there."
Mhm.
No, it's lessons from a certified PGA pro.
Mhm.
Those are the guys that can teach you what to do. Those are the basic fundamentals that you take out to the driving range when you go to practice. But there's a lot of people at the driving range offering advice every day.
Oh, there is.
You know, the truck driver hitting balls beside you, it teaches you how to swing, huh? There. Yep.
Well, that's once again back to the your Grizzly tour that you run for the little guys and girls. It's a wonderful thing. It is, because I wouldn't even think of how you would introduce a little child to golf without something like that. I really mean that, because you're right. In today's world, it's like golf is certainly not cheap. It's not a poor man's sport. But any sport, really, if you play it, it's going to cost you money.
But golf for juniors, for kids, it doesn't get expensive until they turn 19.
Mhm.
Prior to that, everything for them is a junior rate. Junior rate is very affordable. The tournaments they play in are affordable. The instruction that they get is affordable. There's lots of opportunity for them to learn. So if they're given, but the key word is opportunity. You don't have the opportunity, you never get to learn golf. You never get to play golf. So,
Mhm.
it's important to give those kids that opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I will wrap it up on that note here. And Brad, as this is the first, I'm planning on doing a couple of these a month, and I think we'll probably be having you back in the next little while for sure for another chat about golf and everything golf. And I would just like to encourage it's called Steve Tees Off. Brought to you by riversidegolf.ca. Brad, you're a teaching pro up. Where are you a teaching pro? Burnaby Mountain.
I'm so busy, don't give me a call.
Well, listen, I thank you very much for making the drive out here. It's been enjoyable talking golf, and I'd love to have you back here because it was fun. And you can see that you're passionate about it. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.